Welcome to episode 17, is this? We've been doing this for 17 months. Tuning in with Bob Lancer and
Greg Nielsen,
yeah,
Dr. Greg Nielsen.
Dr. G. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a podcast that focuses on the wisdom teachings of Isidore Friedman, and you see behind Greg's head is the cover from Organics, the Wisdom Book by Isidore Friedman. And the main theme of this is how to get into the energy world and function consciously as an energy being in an energy world. And I'll tell you, Greg, that energy dimension just keeps opening up more and more clearly that it's really another world to function in, to sense where energy is going, to sense the vortexes that are at work. It's like a whole new kind of perception starts to open up to us to guide our lives much more effectively, much more functionally, as Isidore would say.
Oh, yes. And of course, I have to go back to Alfred Korzybski. I mean, he laid it out in his book, Science and Sanity. Many other authors have too, but it's a functional skill. It's not an idea only. Most people will agree. Yeah, we live in an energy world. There's energy. I feel energy. I'm high on energy, low on energy, but it's not functioning moment by moment, day by day,
That's
the
right.
best you can, little by little, more and more.
Yeah, like when Isidore talks about, getting overly emotional, which generates a vortex of chaos, you know,
Hmm.
as you get more energy oriented, you can almost see that. You
Oh
can
yeah.
see the energies at work in circumstances, in our lives, in our bodies, in our minds. You can
Oh
actually
yeah.
see and function on an energy level so much more effectively. You don't have to wait for it to be apparent, you know,
Hmm.
oh, here's a problem that manifested. You could see the beginning of creating a problem on the energy level and avoid making it.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm I paying more attention to, and it's always an ongoing process, is micro frustrations. I tend to have a lot of micro frustrations when I'm driving the car. Where
Hmm.
I got them, I don't really care. I do have them.
Hmm.
That California driver's going way too slow. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. I'm
Yeah,
creating a problem energetically, emotionally.
that's right.
It's not their fault at that point because I'm reacting to it and making it more important than it really is.
Well, we can also look at it as, if we look at it from an energy standpoint,
Yeah.
a lot of frustration is being radiated on the roads,
Oh,
and it's real easy to take hold of us if we're
that's
not
true.
very, very careful. If
Oh,
you go
yeah.
into a beautiful, Zen monastery and there's such
Hmm.
peace and harmony there, it's real easy to feel relaxed because you're picking up on the energy that's been radiated in that environment. You go on the roads and there's a whole different kind of energy coming at you, and we need to be able to, I guess, protect ourselves from that.
Yeah, I think Izzy clearly emphasized it to us and to me for sure. How do you handle the everyday world? It's not just a bunch of theory. It's not just living in a monastery or being a mystic, which, there's some people that take that path.
Mhm.
But I know in my case, I chose to a more, you can call it a more difficult path, but able to apply it day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, bit by bit over a long period of time. And
Yeah.
that I've seen the results.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be very great when I started, but I stuck with it
Yeah.
on and off.
Yeah, I mean, going to the supermarket is an opportunity for spiritual initiation of the fourth degree.
I'm going to write that book. That could be a poem right there.
To be able to handle your energy
Yes.
in any given environment. I guess that's the mastery that we're
Yeah.
striving for on this
And
path.
and we're talking about it again tonight, and we talk about it and share from different points of view each month.
Mhm.
And I think we started choosing a little bit having to do with measurement, I guess, tonight.
Tonight we're going to talk about Izzy talks a lot about measure. One of his sayings, I think he ascribed it to like ancient Egypt. He said, where the measure, the
Yeah.
measurer, and the measured meet, there is reality.
And I have what he wrote in one of his books that we're now typing. And he said from the Upanishads, but it could be
Oh,
from ancient Egypt because ancient tradition said basically the same thing everywhere. And
mhm,
that's what it said. There, where the measure, the measurer, and the measured meet, there is reality.
mhm. So
And
let's dive into that.
Yeah,
Mean to you? How do you translate that into functionality?
I thought I'd just give a couple more sentences from the new
Right.
book that's being typed right now, and then we can continue.
Right.
So another section that he wrote in this one that's being transcribed right now, since math is the overall mother science from which all particular sciences are birthed, we learn to apply measure and order to all that we think, feel, do, and this is a bone-breaking task. I should be in a sling tonight. And then the other one that I popped up from the new book coming out is improper measurement of thought, speech, words, and function causes more hell, which can be avoided than almost any other factor.
Right. Which you don't hear much about that on the news.
No, not at all. No. The news is, well, that's a whole nother topic, but
Right. The
we're
news.
not going to measure that right now.
Right, right. And
Too,
that's a
too much.
conscious choice. So
Yeah.
one of the conscious choices we have to make,
Hmm.
another word for, or another way of saying measure is how much.
Yeah.
Right? So
And
how much attention should I give to something going on at work? How much
yeah.
attention should I give to my primary relationship? How much attention should I give to
Mm.
what's going on in the news? How much attention should I give to that guy who was rude to me 3 years ago and I'm still thinking about it? How much attention, measuring how much we give to things.
Yeah. Just a memory popped in my mind, my men mind. Back when Izzy first brought up measure in everything, the things we just talked about, the quotes. And at first, measure, what, I got a ruler? I got to carry around a ruler? I mean, I admit that I didn't really, it was just like, I took it literally
Mhm.
and not in terms of how you measure energy and consciousness. It's the same,
Sure, sure.
So, yeah.
Or
So,
how, the fact that you were thinking about a ruler, right? That's like in masonry, right? You use
yeah,
the ruler and the compass to measure for building purposes. You can't build a house without proper measurement. You
no.
can't build the house of your life. You can't build the house of your business. You can't build the house of a beautiful relationship. You can't build the house of a healthy body without proper conscious measurement of how
Hmm.
much time, how much energy, how much space, how much
Yeah,
matter, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so that gets right down to it is each individual, and we've said this before in other podcasts, you have to become the measurer. Uh, Literally, like you just brought up, every area of your life. You can divide it in many ways you want, whether it's nutritionally, sleep,
Hmm.
rest, action, thought,
Hmm.
emotion,
hmm
creativity.
hmm
It goes on and on. The measurement of the energy that you're using at the time, when you measure it wisely, you're going in a certain direction with it for a certain length of time. And there's a certain point where the measurement becomes, say, too much.
hmm
And it's time to back off and maybe move in another direction or balance,
Rhythmic
something like that.
alternation,
Yeah.
rhythmic alternation.
Hmm.
How much time should I spend doing this task? How
Yeah.
much time should I take for a break? Right? And when it
Yeah.
comes to, one of Isidore's big themes was organic education.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're trying to educate your child, let's say, to, learn a behavior or how to act in a given situation, there's only so much that you can give the child that the child can actually process at that time.
Yes.
Give too much, you turn him off, he backs away, and you basically the conversation has turned into nothing.
I totally give credit to Izzy's training in organic education. If I recall, it was like 30 years in the Brooklyn school system as a math teacher. He probably taught other things too, piano and so on.
Radar.
That, yeah, that definitely rubbed off on me and attracted a whole life of being a teacher. And just a short little mini story. A teacher colleague last year was going to have a baby and asked me to fill in at a local high school for a month, teaching environmental science. Fine, I'll do that, help out. So I went over there and right away I followed what you brought up. I didn't ram them for the whole hour with stuff. Little bit backed off, little bit backed off. Some days they looked at me like, we really don't want to go there. I just went around and talked to people about nothing.
Because there
How's
was
your
no,
day?
yeah, why waste the energy if there's no receptivity?
And the long story short of it, and I don't have the proof, but I intuitively feel that it had a great benefit. That group of kids, three different classes, 90 students, had the highest score in environmental science that year than any other year in our local county. I think I had something to do with it. I got a couple of letters actually from the students.
Mhm.
You knew when to back off and leave us alone.
Right.
We don't know that too often, they said. Usually
Well,
just hammer, hammer, hammer.
well, and hammering is what institutions often demand.
Yes.
Whether it's school requiring the teacher to hammer, hammer, hammer.
Yep.
They walk into the classroom and you're just talking to the kids about something. They don't recognize that that can be an essential ingredient for the child to absorb and digest and retain knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
Businesses expect their employees hammer, hammer, hammer it away. Don't
Hmm.
break, keep pushing, keep pushing. Call a
Yeah.
client, make another sale, push, push, push without measuring what? What are we measuring? We're
Hmm.
measuring for the sake of life force,
Yeah.
right? We're
And
measuring.
yes, and when you have better quality life force, quality activities and thoughts and events and processes start to happen. I mean, it's kind of that simple, but you have to do it.
Well, yeah, and it takes awareness. I think
Yeah.
it primarily takes awareness of feelings. I
Oh
think
yeah.
feelings is where people watch television.
Hmm.
How much television watching is really in my interest. Maybe a half hour a day, maybe an hour a day, maybe 2 hours today and no time tomorrow. It's measuring based
Hmm.
on what? The life force, what's giving me life, what gives me energy, what gives me power, or what starts to drain my power and lower my level of functioning.
I think, Bob, you really brought up a major key. How are you feeling? I know that Bitban in his work talks about go to knowing through feeling. Let's go back to television. I'm watching television, I don't know, whatever, XYZ show. I'm starting to feel a little drained. I'm starting to feel like it's too much. I'm starting to feel I'd like to do something else to rejuvenate more.
Right.
The topic is kind of getting in a little dark area energetically, I guess, and the Hindus call it tamas, or energy. Okay, now measure, stop, move, change.
Yeah, maybe
I'll
it's time
read a,
to stand up, walk around. Maybe it's time to read. Maybe it's
yeah,
time to call somebody. Maybe it's
exactly,
time to meditate and do nothing. Have
exactly.
much time
Listen to
connected
music.
with nature.
Yeah, so
And
many.
yeah, and measure. And it's
Hmm.
interesting, measure and music go
Oh
together,
yeah. Oh yes,
right?
yes.
And music gives us, when it's lovely music, it sort of uplifts the spirit. When you're using right measure in music, you have a
Yeah.
beautiful melody, beautiful harmony, beautiful rhythm,
Hmm.
because every little sound is measured precisely to coincide with a sense of beauty, right?
How many beats to a measure?
That's right.
There you go.
That's
Yeah, that's a great one right there. So yeah, go to knowing through feeling. How do you feel? And when you use self-observation or whatever words you want to call self-reflection, you'll notice your feelings.
So I mean, it's interesting, I guess it's because of the backdrop that you have, but it
Yeah.
almost looks like you have wings. Like when you move forward, your collar comes out, and when you move back, the collar's going like this.
I'll lower my chair a little bit.
I
There
don't
you
know
go.
if I don't think that's going to make a difference, but it's almost like you're about to fly away on wings on your neck. So I'm just letting the listener know, the viewer, the listener, we see this as well, and
I
it's
don't think I measured that very well.
it's a very interesting effect. You'll see it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could see it from your end. Can you
No,
see it?
I can't. I can't see them because I
It's
see
like the
you
collars are going like
mostly.
this, in and out, in and out, in and out.
That's too
So
funny.
yeah, so when we talk about right measure, how much time should you spend, thinking about X, Y, or Z? How much people, I didn't until I studied with Isidore,
Yeah.
realize that what I'm thinking about, I need to measure how much thought I'm
Yeah.
giving to something, because the more thought I give it, the more power it has over me.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So I
Yeah,
have
because
to think,
energy follows attention,
uh-huh.
And whatever you feed, I guess you could say, becomes bigger, more energetically powerful, uh, even, positive,
Hmm.
negative energy, positive energy. And it goes back to being self-aware that you are somewhat, what's the word, maybe responsible, or you're the creator of that,
Hmm.
instead of blaming somebody else and saying, well, I couldn't do anything about it.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm sorry I did it. I didn't do anything. They did it. I
Right.
mean, there's a lot of ways to avoid
Yeah.
having to really be aware of the fact that
Yeah.
your mental energy,
Yeah,
is create.
if you're thinking about something or someone and that thought is bringing some degree of disturbance,
Hmm.
think too much about that particular person or situation, the disturbance starts to take over and it's
Yeah.
to build a momentum. And now you're stuck in this energy vortex of
Yeah.
emotional disturbance. And how
Hmm.
to get there? Well, if you're not conscious, you think, well, that person annoyed me. It's his fault. I'm feeling so upset. But it's actually because I mismeasured how much
Hmm.
attention I was giving to that. Because once you give too much, it's like past the point of no return. It starts
Yeah.
to swallow you up.
Yeah. I know in my case, I guess I'm not going to blame it on the fact that I'm a Taurus, but I have to be very aware because if I go too far and get fixated, I just can't go, oh, let it go. I'm like walking around like a brick with it kind of contained in my psyche, in my mental, emotional self. And I have to just slow down, be willing to be patient. It may take a bit.
Well, as an Aries,
Yeah,
I have to measure how fast I'm going. There
yeah,
are times I have the urge to just like sprint through everything I'm doing. I just want to go boom and get to the next thing. And to measure how fast I can go before
yeah,
I start going unconscious, before I start creating a chaotic energy field by moving too quickly, right?
yes.
Most mistakes happen when we're moving too quickly.
I love that. In fact, this morning I knew we were going to talk about measurement. So when I was making the coffee, I like to pour the hot water over these ground beans, pour over, they call it. But I noticed as I was pouring, I was dividing my attention, measuring elsewhere. I almost tipped over the whole water going over the bean area and
Hmm.
dropped it onto the counter
Yeah.
because I divided my attention. I mismeasured and I started doing the next thing rather than focusing and completing what I was doing. I could have stopped, put it down, then gone to do that.
Right.
But
We're in
fortunately, it
contact.
worked out. But it could have been knocked over on the floor. It could have been a cleanup time. I could have spent a half hour on that. I caught myself and I thought about them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I like to work out, but I have to measure, number one,
Mm.
how much weight I'm working with, because
Yeah.
anything can get injured, right?
Oh, yeah.
I have to measure how much time between workouts,
Yes.
right? Because I noticed if I work out too soon after the previous workout, I feel injured, I feel off, it doesn't work.
Hmm.
But if I give just the right amount of time between workouts, and
Yeah.
so isn't it fascinating that like in elementary school,
Hmm.
kids aren't taught to like measure how much time they're spending on any given thing, to start learning how to measure what they're doing with their power. Like medicine, the right amount of medicine can cure, too much medicine can kill.
Oh, yeah. I can relate to what you said about working out because I like to work out myself. I worked out today. Even when I have a plan, I guess you call blueprint to work out. I'm going to do these four weights today with these muscle groups, and then I'm going to do a half hour on the recumbent bicycle. That's a map. When I get there, I have to, like you say, feel how do I feel?
Right.
So if I go to I'm on the bike, say, and my legs are starting to feel achy or painful, or my back is like slightly tweaked. I'm not going to do the half hour. I'm going to stop at a certain point, or I may slow down, not go as fast. So
Mhm.
you're measuring in the moment,
That's right.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we measure, when we're driving our car, we measure how
Oh,
much distance between the car in front of me based on how fast I'm going. We measure
yeah.
how fast we can go, let's say, above the speed limit without
Hmm.
getting a ticket, or without, or how fast to go in a neighborhood without endangering people.
Yeah.
A lot of that just happens automatically but few people, at least I never did before I studied organics, how much should I speak? You know,
Yeah.
how much talking should I be doing?
Yeah. And I mean, we're both teachers. And so each of us has to decide in the moment how much is too much or how much is not enough, a
Right.
measurement, or maybe the quality of the words, the tone of the words. We've talked about this before, right? Speech.
Hmm.
And yeah, sometimes the teacher needs to know when to be quiet. For
Hmm.
example, many times when I had a class, I set up a time within that framework as a plan, a blueprint that I didn't have to follow necessarily,
Hmm.
where I allowed free time to do other things. Sometimes it was reading, sometimes they were talking to friends, sometimes. So it was like not consistently having to talk, say it's an hour class, the whole hour.
That's right.
Gives them something to do,
Right. So
possibly.
the enemy of conscious measure is
Hmm.
getting carried away.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Doing too much in one direction to the point where it sort of inverts.
Yeah. It
And I
has
might have brought,
momentum. It's run,
I
it's
think
yeah.
I brought this up on the cast, say, months ago. Years ago, I had a blood clot in my leg. So, of course, with our training from organics, I'm going, now, what am I doing? Or what have I done to bring this on? Making a long story short, I went through all the steps, both my own training and I went to a specialist. And the bottom line was the guy said, because I said to him, how can that be? I walk, I hike, I bike. How could I get a clot? I ever thought about how many hours sometimes you read in a row? You
Hmm.
told me up to 3 hours sometimes without getting up. You're so engrossed in what you're reading, your mind is so active. Professional athletes ride planes, and if they sit too long, they get a blood clot. I go, there's organics right there.
Mhm. So what we're talking about is unconscious mismeasurement.
Yeah, unconscious.
Unconscious mismeasurement. You weren't even aware that you were doing too much for too long.
Exactly.
You
And
weren't.
I got the consequence.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not going to blame anybody but myself. And I'm not blaming myself in a sense of being guilty about it or I'm bad. I
Mhm.
just wasn't aware. I was unconscious. And
And that's what
unconscious, there you
life,
go.
life just smacks us back in line.
Exactly. I
You
mean,
know,
I was grateful for it. I don't do that too much now. I mean, I
I
have a
have
little clock on my desk, I get up and move around, I stop. Yeah.
to remember. Yeah, I had it in my office here. Somehow a wasp had gotten in. And so I opened the window, right? But the wasp didn't go out. So I
Hmm.
had to take like a piece of paper and start knocking the wasp toward the open window and
Yeah.
basically beating the crap out of the wasp to try to save its life. It's fighting against me, but finally it went out the window. And to me, that was like a metaphor of how
Hmm.
life works.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
universe will just keep smacking you as you depart from your natural order process.
Hmm.
Right measure.
Yeah.
Mismeasure creates some kind of a consequence. And instead of
Unconscious
saying life,
mismeasurement.
yeah, instead of blaming outside circumstances, you take responsibility for your energy management. I mismeasured. I was doing that
Yep.
too long. I gave too much attention to work, and my relationship started to fall apart.
Yeah. And it's an ongoing process, but once you get onto it, you're willing to listen to what and notice what happens and make some adjustments.
Well, it
And
gives you a whole lot more control
oh yeah.
over your
Yeah.
life because it's
Hmm.
not like I'm the victim of circumstances or what other people do. I find
Yeah.
that the consequences result from measurement. Either
Mm.
mismeasurement brings a harsh consequence, right
Yeah.
measurement brings a harmonious, beautiful consequence. And it's to measuring my thoughts, measuring my feel, measuring effort.
Oh yeah.
How much effort should you make to do something?
Hmm.
When is it too much effort? It's not worth doing.
Yeah. Sometimes you can go in a direction like you're pounding your head against the wall, trying to make it happen, whatever way you want to say that. When
Mhm.
you know what? When you start to get to that point, what's that feel like? Not very comfortable. Maybe it's time to take a breath or stop.
So,
Take,
so, so, so one of the things we learn to trust when it comes to right measurement is something you mentioned in that quote, which is
yeah,
order,
yeah.
like an ordered state. Like, do you trust being like overly intense, nervous, pushing, forcing, anxious, or do you trust calm, centered clarity as your guide for right measure of how
Hmm.
much effort? And that's the choice a person has to really make.
Yeah.
What are you going to place your faith in? What are you going to trust? Isidore gave us this alternative, trust order, trust clarity, trust perceptiveness, trust
Hmm.
awareness, trust balance, trust being well rested.
Yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, we're both speaking from years and years of applying these things. And by the way, it doesn't take necessarily, like in my case, decades. I mean, a person who could be very developed as a young person, for whatever reason, and starts applying these things, it feels great.
Mhm.
And things open up beautifully for them and they get it.
I think
I tended to be a little,
a lot of people are incarnating with some of
yeah.
the knowledge embedded in them already, young people. You know?
So fast or slow, whatever the time takes, fine. You could be
Right.
younger, middle age, older. It's never too late to get on the tuning in path, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Just start to begin to apply conscious measure to
Hmm.
what you're doing, what you're saying. How am I getting too emotional? Am I getting too worked up? Am I being too laid back? Am I being too disengaged?
Hmm.
And so it's all about measure,
Yeah.
make sure, measure.
Yeah.
So one of the things we have to measure is one of the most important things I think that we have to measure, which I mentioned earlier, is how much attention am I giving to a particular thing or person or situation? How
Hmm.
much attention? So how do you determine like when you've paid enough attention to something or when you're paying too much attention to something?
I'm going to go back to what you said. It doesn't feel, if you're paying attention to your feelings, you can feel it. And you start to cultivate that skill, you start to feel it. Let's put it this way, maybe more responsively. Like your response is more immediate because you get used to that kind of feeling saying, wait, I'm pushing too much here.
So it's
You don't,
so it's a feeling of disturbance.
yeah, discomfort,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
maybe a little drainage of energy.
Now, some
Uh,
people are caught up in the belief that they've
mhm.
got to push. They,
Yeah,
they've got to keep focusing. They got to keep doing it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. They have to keep doing it, or they're lazy.
yeah. I mean, I can give lots of examples from my life. I mean, I was visiting my son a few months ago, and I gave my granddaughter a little toy piano for Christmas. And then when I got there to visit, I said, "Oh, where's the microphone that goes with it? Little pink microphone for it's only 1.5." But I got obsessed. We don't know where it is. So the next morning I got up and I didn't catch myself. I was unconscious. I spent an hour and a half looking for that pink microphone. And then I caught myself. I said, wait a minute. What are you trying to do? I mean, this
You're
is out of
losing your head.
control.
You're
I'm out
losing,
of control.
yeah, that
I
momentum
laughed.
has to carry us. Yeah.
Fortunately, I caught it and
So,
let it
so
go.
yeah, and I noticed even in conversation, uh,
Hmm.
many people talk too softly, not
Yeah.
measuring the volume.
Hmm.
They're so caught up in what they're saying, they're not measuring how they're saying it, how much intensity, how much volume. Some people
Hmm.
talk too loudly, some
Yeah.
people talk too softly. Some
Hmm.
people will not pay attention enough to sense your comfortability of spaciousness.
Hmm.
And they'll
Hmm.
either stand too close without
Yeah.
picking up the vibe, or they'll stand too far away, perhaps, in certain cultures.
Yes.
So the ability to sense and feel in any given situation, right measure, the guideline is basically this basic feeling inside of living in a harmonious, balanced state.
Yeah. Of
That
course, I got a memory association there when you talked. I had a class once of about 10, 15 people. Very unusual that basically all 15 were very timid talkers. So when topic would come up and they would raise their hand or share something, no one could really hear the other person.
right.
So finally, I just walked over
Mhm,
closer so I could hear,
mhm, mhm.
and I would say something like, "Did everybody hear that? I'd be happy to repeat it."
Mhm.
And it's just a very unusual group. That
Oh,
rarely happens.
I've seen it happen in many of my seminars,
Yeah,
live
just so
seminars
quiet.
where someone will be too quiet. And I think I even mentioned on our show, the tactic I would use is
Uh-huh.
I would walk further away
Oh,
so that
okay.
I would kind of signal to them. And often they wouldn't raise their voice. And then I would
Yeah.
say, could you please speak up? I can't hear you.
And I've done that sometimes too. So can everybody hear her or him?
Uh-huh.
Maybe speak up a little bit. Could you
And then
say
you
that
have
again?
then you have to be careful, measure like, so if I say this, is it going to offend this person and shut her down, or
Yeah.
is it going to inspire her to speak up? So it's all about conscious measure, taking responsibility for what we're creating with how we're using our power.
Yeah. There's no right answer in
Yeah,
what you just brought up.
yeah.
Like you say, some people, it could actually be so uncomfortable that
Mhm.
they might not speak up for another year.
That's right. It's
Or
traumatized.
you might scare the heck out of them, I'm
And
going to speak in front of people.
I see it in parenting, one of the, for children to behave at their best, to function at their best, the fundamental requirement is a harmonious, peaceful, happy household.
Yeah.
And so, because when there's discord in a household,
Mm.
everybody's level of performance goes down. And so,
Yes.
a parent who gets angry, upset, loud, threatening in their response to a child's behavior, their attempt to improve the behavior is actually undermining the child's ability to behave because they're bringing too much intensity into the environment.
Yeah. They go into an overload
Yeah,
of some kind. Yeah. That's just too much, especially when they're little babies
yeah,
or younger. Yeah.
depending on their sensitivity level, for
Yeah.
sure.
I
But
know my granddaughter is a Cancer with the moon Pisces, super
oh,
sensitive.
super sensitive.
And
So
unfortunately,
astrology can be a tool to help you
oh
measure,
yeah.
but it's never just like doing it because it's in a person's chart. The
Oh
chart
no, no.
can give you a little bit of insight, but you're still measuring in experience, in the
Exactly.
actual
Yeah.
experience, right?
Yeah, you have to look at it. It's a map, it's not the territory.
Yeah,
It's a map. There's many ways to form a map.
that's right.
And then you can look and say, she's doesn't like being here.
Mhm.
She wants to be home with her environment.
Mhm.
She's not used to it. There's too much going on here. So
Mhm.
sometimes she gets a little upset, like she doesn't say it verbally. She
Mhm.
just by her actions and reactions feels irritated and uncomfortable.
And then a parent might say, yeah, but she should be comfortable here. Right? She should
That's
be
right.
comfortable here. There's nothing wrong with this environment. It's a normal environment. Every kid is comfortable here. Why isn't my kid comfortable here? I'm going to make her stay here until she's comfortable. And then
Get
she,
used to it.
yeah.
Grow up.
Right? And so
Yeah.
people operating from ideas, ideology, and beliefs
Yeah.
is a big one that Isidore harped on.
Oh
Operate
yeah.
ideas and beliefs rather than conscious measurement of the energies in the now. If you're
Hmm.
moving into a chaotic situation, back out of it. Don't keep
Yeah.
pushing it, even though you have this belief that it's supposed to work this way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an ongoing process. It's not something that, you get perfectly right away. I know there's many, many times, especially early on, I would get it for an hour. I would get it for a half hour. I would get into it for minutes. And then might go, a day or two and not really notice it much.
Right.
It builds up. I guess you can use the word like a muscle. I guess you could say
Sure.
it's a skill that you build up like any other skill, and you
Bringing
get better.
that, yeah, like, and when I was, in my early years of practice, I would take, let's say, one day and I said, today I'm going to apply measurement to my speech.
Mm,
I'm just going to watch how much I'm speaking and apply measurement to that. Tomorrow, I would apply measurement to my emotional reactions. How emotional am I getting? How intense? The next day, measurement to my thoughts. How much time am I spending thinking about this particular thing? Because
mm,
again, if we don't measure, we lose control of our power.
hmm.
And then our power is controlled by chaos.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely generate chaos, and the ability to be ordered in your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and actions diminishes,
Yeah.
and then you become a whatever you want to call it, a tractor of more chaos.
Attractor of chaos, a
Yeah.
generator of chaos.
Hmm.
So in order to apply right measure to thinking, right? Some people say, well, it sounds great, but I can't stop my thoughts.
Yeah.
right? Most people, their thoughts are just running them. Their thoughts
Yep.
are just running out of control because they weren't taught to like measure how is it time to not think? Is my mind tired? And, am
Yeah.
I losing my grounding to the present moment? Am I losing my awareness to the present moment? Right? So, but I think it all comes back to this fundamental principle of, what Isidore would say, when you lose your peace and poise, you lose your power.
Yeah.
Right? This fundamental principle that it's like to be wise is to feel good, just
Yeah.
to feel balanced and whole and centered. And that's the measuring stick. If I'm
Hmm.
starting to lose that, I got to see what am I doing that's taking me out of right state,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
A lot of people don't believe in harmony. They believe
No,
going crazy and pushing like a maniac.
there can be addictive behaviors to almost any kind of energy.
Yeah.
Too much thought, too much emotion, too much drama, too much whatever.
I
And
mean,
they get
how
used
much,
to it and they almost need it for an adrenaline rush.
right, right,
Yeah.
chaos. They start feeding on the chaos
Hmm.
and it just breeds more and more chaos.
Yeah.
One of the important things to measure, we talked about this when we spoke about rapports, is how much time to spend with a particular person.
Hmm. Yeah.
If a person is very unconscious, very emotional, right, going through a lot of stress, distress, maybe you can help them calm down. But if you're finding that your efforts to calm them down are in vain, now that's too much. I got to now back off. I have to do less, get less involved, let them unwind without me getting caught up in it.
Yeah. There's really no need that you have to automatically help anyone unconsciously.
Oh, that's a big
Uh,
one. That's a
yeah.
big
Izzy, I think one time he called it automatic help to me. If you're
one.
sometimes you want to help people.
Right.
Well, it goes back to being conscious and being measured.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can help someone by not helping them.
Most of the time.
Yeah, a lot of times you just leave them alone
Yeah, you can't meddle.
and respect the fact that they're learning just like you do and in their own way. And if they ask for help, perhaps you can offer a little bit. Yeah.
You can also measure how receptive someone is. Sometimes people ask for help, but they don't really want it.
No,
Right.
I shouldn't laugh because
And so again, it's a measuring.
I
It's
mean
a
I
process.
I'm laughing at myself too because there's times when that's happened in my life where I would ask for help and then not listen
Right. What'd
at
you say?
all.
Yeah, I know, I know.
So, yeah, respecting other people's state of consciousness, level of being, what they're attracting into their life is probably the perfect learning tool,
Mhm.
learning experience for them. Uh, a kind of measurement in a way until they begin to wake up more and more in their own way. And yeah, that's a really important thing. You can call it compassion, you can call it understanding, you can call it empathy, but that's a form of measurement that's really critical. I
Critical.
think early on, I think I wanted to share what I was learning with everybody as much as I could. I kind of got
Yeah,
out
me
of
too.
control,
Mhm.
and I
From
admit it
shouting from the
now.
rooftops. Yeah.
And yeah, and I look back and go, "Oh my God, talk about a beginner.
But
Let people alone."
Isidore had a saying where you said, when all is said and done, much
Mhm.
is said and nothing gets done because people use up all their energy in talking about what they're going to do. They have no more energy to do it.
Yeah,
To the strain.
that's a beautiful thing to say right there.
Yeah, they
We,
mismeasured how much talk. So we have to measure, how much time can I spend with a given person in a given situation. But if I have this ideology, this belief, going on in my mind of, no, to be a good person, you have to be helpful. You have to do things for the people, even if you're tired, even if you're sick, even if you don't feel like it. To be a good person is to do this. So it's instead of operating from belief, when you get into organics, you start operating from awareness, from
yeah,
a feeling sense, from an intuitive feeling sense of, is this imbalancing me? Because
yeah,
once I lose my balance, now I'm falling into a chaotic situation.
yeah, yeah. And then you're feeling that kind of energy,
Mhm.
and it's a signal to you to stop going in that direction or focusing in that area of life. I mean, many times thoughts will enter, intuitive thought will come in. I'm with someone or a group, and this is something that might be beneficial for them or that person, and you realize, don't say it.
Right.
Just don't say it. It's not, might be wise for them to hear it if they were in a state of mind where they could hear it, but they're not going to hear it. And that's okay.
Well, giving advice.
Yeah, there you go.
Giving advice, there are times when I've heard people giving advice and it sounded like sensible advice, but the person who they were giving the advice to felt offended, felt talked down to, like, oh, I
Yeah,
know that, that you're not even addressing my issue. You're not connecting with me
yeah.
consciously. And giving advice can actually, create more discord in the relationship. And that's another one,
Mhm.
it's measuring in order to maintain a harmonious relationship with someone.
Yeah, I know that's something that we had in our family with my son growing up and so on. I was learning, and he was sometimes absorbing these things without ever really articulating like we're doing, just because he picked up the behavior
Mhm.
and he seems to know where he works, when to back off. He's a boss or he's a leader, when to back off and leave the person alone. And so I see him do it all the time. He just doesn't hammer on him. He just, the time is not right. I'm going to wait for another day, another
So,
time.
so an inner feeling of
Yep.
harmony is a signal for right measurement. An
Hmm.
inner feeling of discord is a
Yep.
feeling of poor measurement. And so we try to stay in the bounds of right measure because when we step out of bounds, that's when life knocks us back in bounds. And if you're
Yep.
picking up on that subtle feeling of disturbed energy, and you can respond to that signal, it's a lot easier than if you have to get clobbered before
Uh,
you realize you're mismeasuring.
Bob, you're really so wise to say that. There's many times, even I'd say even a few times a week, and say I'm meditating or being quiet, I'll ask myself, what am I not seeing? What am I not noticing? Uh, Please let me see it.
Huh. To
You
talk a
know
little
what?
bit more about that, elaborate
Well,
on that a little
the,
bit.
to me, it's the idea that it's an ongoing process, and I'm not seeing everything all at once. There's almost levels to things.
Mhm.
Uh,
Gradation.
Maybe, yeah, like maybe oh, I got to write all this stuff. I have to finish chapters 4 through 5, and then 6, 7, and 8 by Saturday.
Right.
And then I start pushing myself. That could be, I may, by asking, what am I not seeing? I may see that. Why do you have to do that? You have your own free time a lot. I mean, doesn't have to be that rigid, that controlled. It's nice
How,
to be ordered and stick with it, but not always.
right. So how much illness is caused by mismeasure?
Oh, oh yeah. I mean,
They can prescribe all the medication they want, but if you're mismeasuring your energies, you're going to need more and more medication.
oh yeah. And of course, the medication you need is to measure and be conscious. That's the ultimate, what
It's,
would you say? Medicine.
it's good
Yeah,
medicine.
good
Measure,
medicine. Yeah,
good medicine. Measuring, how much time I'm spending doing something, measuring my level of intensity, measuring, before I take an action, to help someone, do I have the energy to do this?
yeah.
And so we recognize that this inner feeling of discord, as subtle as it is, the inner feeling of harmony, the inner feeling of discord, as subtle as it is, it's a warning light.
Yeah.
It's the guide for right measure, because if you keep on going, it's just going to get more and more destructive, the path
Hmm.
that you're on. And and
Yeah.
and and that's what Isidore would talk about. He created like a fraction diagram, like 1/2 is 1/2, and he would say will over desire,
Yeah.
right? Will over desire, because my desire might be I want to keep working, or I want to keep reading this, I want to keep sitting here and reading this for hours and hours. That's what I
Yeah.
want to do,
Hmm.
but if I'm applying right measure, I can start to see I'm starting to feel off. Maybe
Hmm.
before the blood clot that you were experiencing, maybe there was some kind of subtle,
Oh,
urging for you to get up and move.
looking back on it, in my view, there was no doubt I was giving many, many signals. I wasn't paying attention.
That's
The
right.
feelings I was getting, I just sort of dismissed. I'm really interested in this. I
Mhm.
want to keep reading it. I've got to get it. That,
Right.
that's a blueprint for chaos right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But
And yeah.
going back to answer your question
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
paying attention to, asking, what am I not seeing?
Right.
I also pay attention to my intuitive thought or vibe or feeling.
What do you mean by
Things,
intuitive? What?
yeah, you may get a hunch.
Okay.
You may get a thought. You may get an image.
All right.
Take a look at that. What does that feel like?
Right.
And they come quick. Now, I have a notebook nearby. I
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean I decided anything. I might write it down.
Right.
Oh, I haven't looked at that for a long time. Let me take a look. And sometimes it uncovers something as it's down the road would be more difficult.
Right.
If I look at it now, it's less difficult.
Yes.
That's
Right.
what I mean. And of course, sometimes you're just blind and
Yeah.
you learn your own way. I mean,
The hard way.
the hard way.
The hard way.
Exactly.
So one of the things that Isidore would talk about was measuring, how personal.
Yeah,
He would talk about being personable, but not personal.
very good point.
Right? What does that mean to you?
Well, my first immediate association, there's a lot of them come to mind, but sometimes when I had younger students, younger mean under 25, maybe between 13 to 25 in certain situations, sometimes they start asking a lot of personal questions. And
Hmm.
I would say, I don't really answer personal questions,
Hmm.
but if you want to talk about something else, it'd be fine. Like, how much money do you make? I
Hmm.
don't answer that.
Hmm.
How old are you?
Hmm.
Are you married? How many children do you have? Now, if I got to know them when we became comrades, maybe, or co-creators, that's different. But I chose not to be personal,
Right. And
to
what was
stay
your guide? What
impersonal.
guided you? A
I
feeling.
felt I felt like
Feeling. A
to
feeling.
be impersonal is a feeling,
Right. Because you
not
can
to
open
get,
yourself up to chaos. You can feel it.
yeah.
Feel the
And
energy of chaos. And I would say maybe one of the most fundamental things I learned from organics, from working with Isidore, which I didn't know before,
yeah,
was that order is preferable to chaos.
I'm laughing because it's so important and it's so critical.
I didn't even
It's
know.
yeah, no, I didn't either. I just figured
I thought
chaos
I'll
is
just go
drama, and
crazy and I'll react and I'll be impulsive and impetuous and reckless and it'll work out somehow and
that's
I
how it is. That's
know.
how it is. Yeah,
And then with Isidore, just when we step into his apartment and
yeah.
feel that order,
Hmm.
that cosmocrat order and clarity radiating from him, just so, like
Hmm.
beaming from him, and it felt so good. And then when
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, like health is a condition of order, ill
Yes.
health is a condition of what? It's a disorder.
Yeah.
Disorder destroys, disorder kills. Order, you can build, and not only can you build in order, you can enjoy the building process.
Oh, yeah.
In order, you
Yeah.
can be sane and calm and happy and peaceful, right?
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
measuring order, the ability to feel that sense of order, and then trusting order. And I know when I'm
Mm.
working with people, one of the first things they start to experience is how much more delightful their life becomes when they just practice doing things in an orderly way,
Oh, yeah.
orderly
Hmm.
state.
Yeah. That's kind of a ritual, I guess you could say, or habit, conscious habit, daily looking at the order of the day. Not that it has to be exactly like that. It's basically an outline.
Mhm.
And then you start making adjustments.
Based on measure.
Right. Today I go about every 2 weeks to get my acupuncture treatment, which I love. It's very rejuvenating, re-energizing. And then afterward, I like to go home and just enjoy it, generally speaking. But today I passed the bank. And I said, there's something I haven't taken care of. Then I asked myself, how do you feel? Is that something you could do that feels comfortable? If it's not too long, not too tedious, not too conflicting. I decided, yes, that is. But I walked in the door, I looked, there was really no line. I was in and out like 5 minutes,
Mm. Yeah,
5 minutes. But I might have gone there and gone, you know what? This parking lot's full. There's 10 people in line. I really want to enjoy this wonderful state I'm in. I'll do it next week or next time.
that's right.
So But today it worked out beautifully.
You measure it. Or I
Yeah.
know, some people, they'll, some of the, high achievers, I guess you can call them, they might wake up to a day when they have low energy,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
feel guilty, and they feel like
Oh.
they have to push themselves and keep doing all the work and work at a higher level of productivity
Hmm.
rather than measuring how much work gives me the feeling of balance.
Hmm.
Much can I do maintaining my sense of harmony? How much can I do without feeling totally drained and spent and painful?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to let go of your preconceived notion or plan sometimes and readjust based on the energy. That's a measurement right there.
The measurement, yes. How much can I do? So, when you think about organics,
Yeah.
and this tuning in, becoming a conscious energy being, um, how valuable has it been in your life?
I will use the word invaluable. It's really brought joy, purpose, sharing with people, calm, rejuvenation, intuition, creativity, understanding, joyfulness. I mean, it goes on and on. You can call them the spiritual frequencies or the vibrations that are more harmonious. And it's a pleasure, and it reinforces your effort because why would you not choose that over this? I mean,
Yeah, because
you
it
can
works.
help it,
Yeah.
and you start to choose it more and more because it's so rejuvenating, you could say.
So would you say that as you've gone through this process of applying
Yeah.
organics to your daily living,
Hmm.
becoming a conscious energy being, applying things like right measure,
Yeah.
um, are you a different person because of it? Would you say it's similar to like being like reincarnating in this life?
If I compare my teenage self, let's go there, 20-year-old self, whatever, to my 70 something self now, there's no comparison. I mean, the joy and the pleasure and the good energy, the quality energy, the enjoyment of what I'm doing, the people I meet, and so on and so forth. There's no comparison. It's way better.
But would you say you're a different person?
Oh, I'm totally a different person, not
Yeah.
even a doubt. I know my son said, well, if I ever have another kid, I want to have a Taurus like you. I said, you know what? That could be a big mistake because you don't, because, just so you know, when I was a younger person going up till I'm 20, 21, 22, I was a lot to handle. I was like a brick.
And I was volatile.
I was a know-it-all,
Yeah.
and I was
Yeah.
condescending, and I was stubborn, and
Yeah.
all the other things. So
Yeah.
I said, watch out what you ask for.
So it's kind of like, because all the esoteric teachings talk about, being born again, being
Yeah,
heaven born.
yeah,
Jesus has this saying, unless ye die, ye shall not be born again in the kingdom of heaven. And
yeah.
for me, organics was like a ticket into heaven on earth.
Oh, absolutely. Not
Able
even
to
a
live
doubt
a
about it.
balanced, harmonious, contented, centered, clear, all day,
Hmm.
any circumstances. It was hard getting here. I had to go
Yeah.
through a lot of fire
Oh,
to
yeah.
finally be released from those patterns, what Isidore calls the PPPs, the
Yeah.
pressure point
Pressure.
past,
Yep.
right? It took a
Exactly.
lot of fire to
And
finally be free.
it's a core tenet of the Egyptian teachings. They talked about heaven on earth, and they used the word amenta. Amenta is here now.
Hmm.
The state that you're in, the organics, basically, the things we're talking about,
Mhm.
that becomes your heaven in the moment,
Mhm.
not later,
Mhm.
not in the past, not the future, in the moment now.
And what's interesting when it comes to measure is not everybody's ready for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
You have to measure how much of this stuff you give to someone in
Oh,
any
yeah.
time, in any given context, because you can't push it.
No,
It's a
no,
pretty big process,
it
but
is.
something inside, there was something inside of you
Yeah,
that called you to this work. There was something that was touched spiritually
yeah.
that you were ready for this. What was that?
Yeah, Carl Jung, I read his book, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections when I was I'd say 16, 17 years old. It was a life-changing experience to read this book. He talked about this very thing, that he used different words, but it's basically feeling some kind of special something that you have to do and want to pursue. And when you can feel that feeling and you go with it, things open up. And Joseph Campbell said the same thing. When you follow your bliss, doors open out of nowhere that would completely blow your mind. I mean, it's like I wish I could give several, I mean, I can give lots of examples, but it's a very powerful energy when you have that for your life to be with it, that feeling.
Mhm.
And not everybody gets a full blast of that or full feeling of it, and that's fine. But I sometimes tell people that what's more powerful, that feeling when a person has it or experiences it or goes with it, or is the mother force more powerful? You know, like animals, what being a mother to their cubs or whatever their animal babies are.
Mhm.
It's a powerful energy in a good way. I mean, it's a very direct, it sort of it becomes like a guideline or like a lighthouse.
Mhm.
And going in this direction feels like that's becoming more prominent.
Hunger for the light.
Yeah,
You
that's a
know,
great. Yeah,
Diffan talks about that as being a first degree initiate. He said, first degree initiate, somewhere on the inner planes,
yeah,
an advanced initiate's energy has made contact with you, and it
yeah,
creates a stirring within you.
yes.
And then he would say, he would quote the Bible. He said, when that fire is kindled, no one can put it out.
No, no, it's
That's the star that the three wise men followed to find the baby Christ. That hunger for
yeah,
light, for inner light. If you're watching this video right now, you're listening to this, and you're feeling that hunger for that inner light,
yeah,
put attention on that feeling, nourish
hmm,
that feeling, feed that feeling with right measure.
yeah,
Let yourself read the books that feed the feeling, attend the classes that feed the feeling, do the practices that feed the feeling.
yeah,
You're feeding your soul in such a beautiful, magnificent, special way, and when we have that feeling, it's like we were blind and now I can see.
yeah,
Like now I can see all the colors of the rainbow. Before, life was black and white, and it's an indescribable, you can't
yeah.
nail that hunger for awakening.
It's a definite vibrational experience, and it's something everybody may feel similarly but different for them.
Right.
And I'm very grateful in my case. I mean, I don't know why I attracted that book. For some reason, it really opened the doorway. It was with the fight. The fire was in me,
Uh-huh.
but that reading that fanned my fire. That was one of his main things in life too, as a person. He was friends with Joseph Campbell, and then I met Francois, who studied with Joseph Campbell, and then he introduced me to Izzy because he said, "You guys need the practical and functional things that Izzy has to offer. You're all very young. You have a long way to go to build, tune in by having measure consciousness, practicality, function, and so on, order." Yeah,
Yeah. And if you're measuring, properly, or if you mismeasure, let's say, you have that fire, you have that hunger, but you're driven based on beliefs or ideologies or other people's expectations to live a quote unquote more normal life and to pursue quote unquote normal things,
yeah.
you can actually, lose that fire.
Oh, yeah.
See a lot of people, Isidore used to talk about the dead. The people are walking around dead. They just don't know enough to lie down because they've just left that fire
I
because
shouldn't
they
laugh, but
mismeasured what they're focusing on because they, maybe scared. Maybe they believe they have to be more practical
yeah, it is
or
scary
mundane or conventional things. It takes daring.
and there were times that I thought, well, maybe I've made a mistake.
Oh, me too.
There were times,
Me
or
too.
maybe I bet her,
Yeah.
maybe this is, am I, you get the idea.
Oh, I
And
did the
then,
same thing and I went right into hell.
and then occasionally I would get the hell experience and go, now wait a minute. You know what? That's not you. You're
Right.
not following your
Right.
path. You're not following your purpose. You're not following your inner
Yourself,
core.
inner
Yeah,
self,
yourself.
your true
And
being.
when you do that, you feel better.
That's right.
When you don't feel better.
So sooner or
Took a
later, you have
while.
to give it to being who you are, right?
Yeah.
Isidore once said, "Hell is living in someone else's pattern."
Yeah, and we get our download of our pattern software pretty early
That's
in
right.
most cases. That's partly what certain families are for, to give
Yeah,
you the software that's not the best for you.
No, Isidore used to say, "We're born into the household of our enemies of a past life."
Whoa.
No, he could get pretty
Well,
heavy.
maybe it's a good sign I don't have many family members left.
No, not on the flesh anyway. But
Mhm.
for those who are listening,
Yeah.
if this show, if this conversation that Greg and I, my dear friend in organics, in spirituality and light, if
Hmm.
you're feeling that hunger, you know, feed it, feed the hunger, stay with the light.
Yeah.
If you try to depart from it, you're gonna be like the prodigal son, come back anyway.
Yeah.
Feed this fire, live in this joy, live in this
Mhm.
inspiration, live in
Yeah.
this Christos energy, and watch how
Hmm.
beautiful life becomes.
That's very well said, Bob.
Okay.
I'm
So,
inspired.
okay, I'm inspired too.
Ooh, I love the flash of light just went behind your door there. Whoa. Okay.
All right, Dr. G,
What do I, that's an hour?
that's a little over an hour.
Oh my goodness. God bless your soul.
Until next time,
Adios, amigo.
adios, amigo, and we'll
Yeah.
see you in the light next month.
Next month.
All
Adios.
right,
Yeah.
enjoy.